Hello everyone. I'm making this video in very hurry to motivate all of us to say a few words about our first city walk in JDSOLA. I have been a student of city for, in fact, a decade now, almost 10 years, and I wrote my PhD thesis also in Mumbai city, and I'm part of the journey to teach citizenship and migration in JDSOLA for last 5 years. I have done city walk in different parts of the world, but people who were trained in different disciplines, including urban studies, geography, architecture, and but this was very fresh energy to walk along with you as part of understanding the city. I have lived for more than a decade, and what was most fascinating part of our city walk to read the obvious. We have been to those places, we have been very familiar, but street walk and seeing everydayness at the street and trying to understand history behind it, whether it is origin and genesis of BKC area, Crawford Market, that what lies layers behind the streets and everydayness. That's was most fundamental part, because other cities that I did city walk, they were not so familiar for me, and it was for the first time I was coming to know a lot of information. But the more difficult challenge was reading something that's very obvious and familiar to us. And second, like part of the experience that very much interested me about many of you contributing through your first-hand experiences, anecdotes of family members and relatives, how they have made fortunes, aspirations in the city, uh, just accessing those spaces. Even in fact, some of you ended up offering choices whether to go to Crawford Market or the nearby lanes where more people go for shopping during religious festivals and other occasions. So it was infusing new energy, and I hope if you would say a few words, it would be just really energizing for your juniors and other people who want to read and understand Mumbai city.
I would like to share my experience about JDSOLA in the city with you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Vijay sir for organizing the walk. Walking through the streets of Mumbai, particularly around Bandakula Complex, Fort, and the Mill area, I was struck by the contrast of how these spaces are occupied and negotiated. BKC, with its towering high offices, upscale restaurants, and manicured streets, felt like a bubble of privilege, an ecosystem catering to corporate elitism and global businesses. In contrast, Fort, although a business hub, carried the remnants of the city's colonial history with an old architecture, bustling markets, and a more chaotic but vibrant street life. These spaces reflect not only different aesthetics but also difference in patterns of migration and labor. At BKC, most of the people I noticed were professionals, many of them migrants, but presence through seemed transitant, tied to work hours. The same streets would be empty after office hours as the space does not have room for everyday lives of people who sustain it. Meanwhile, Fort embodied a different rhythm. Vendors, small business owners, and street hawkers, many of them who would be immigrants from Maharashtra and northern states as well, occupied sidewalks alongside the office crowd that were there. Unlike BKC, Fort felt like a more lived in space where work, leisure, and survival could coexist together, although having a messy interplay. These observations reflected the theme from Citizenship and Migration course. BKC illustrates the exclusionary nature of urban development, where access to space is restricted to a privileged few, leaving little room for those on the margins who can claim any kind of belonging. In contrast, Fort embodied the city's older tradition of migration and informal economies, offering more opportunities for migrants to insert themselves into the urban fabric. Yet, even here, belonging is precarious in nature. Hawkers, obviously under the threat of eviction, and many migrant workers informally work without any legal safeguard recognition. This work has deepened my understanding of how citizenship and migration play out in Mumbai spaces. In places like BKC, migrants occupy roles that are economically important but invisible and denied a chance to build communities or to stake a claim in cities. Meanwhile, other spaces like maybe Fort or the mills that we visited have a more inclusive and expose the limits of informal citizenship where right of the city is constantly negotiated but never guaranteed. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dakshi and I'm a third year in JDSOLA. Under the Citizenship and Migration Studies, I attended the event JDSOLA in the city. And I'm not originally from Bombay, so while touring the city, I got to know a lot about its history, and not just the one that the colonizers left us with, but the one that people created for themselves. And I saw this stark contrast between the metropolis, where some places were highly corporate, and while some stood as a testament to the colonial times. And it raised a lot of questions for someone who is not from a metropolitan city about things like who builds our cities, do they live where they deserve to, how two places might be built for the exact same purpose but they cater to completely different class. And in general, the tour made me think a lot about the city that I've been living in for the past 2 years. And these are the type of things you don't really think about when you live somewhere unless your purpose of living there is thinking. So I would like to say that I'm very grateful to have this opportunity. And if I get this once more, I will totally do this again. Thank you.
The city walk was an interesting experience for sure. Having bun maska with sir and reflecting on the city's history made for a good Sunday. Out of everything that we covered, I think what stood out for me most was the history of the mill workers as we got closer to Lower Parel and how that industry declined with the rise of neo technology and industries. We learned how mill workers who basically powered the city's growth had to shift jobs with the decline in the industry and become taxi driver, families of whom still work as taxi drivers today. Their transition, in a way, symbolizes the struggles of migration and citizenship, how people move from one city to another in hopes of better work and livelihood, but they never seem to get that economic stability or sense of belonging. Even though they contribute to the city's economy and growth, they never have access to the rights and resources. So they're still fighting for recognition and security in the city. But yeah, I would have loved to have explored the bylanes of Fort, but that's for another city walk.
Hi, I'm Nandan, and I found the city walk to be a very fun and interesting experience because I got to learn so much more about the city that I've lived in for the entirety of my life. And one thing that I found particularly interesting would be Kamla Mills and its history and how migration played a role in its establishment.
Hi, so I want to share my experience about the field visit, JDSOLA and the city. Firstly, thank you very much, sir, for taking us for a walk around the city. And I think it was a very insightful experience where I think I got to learn a lot about the city, its places, and the shared spaces of the city. So, as someone who's not from Bombay, uh, I got to see a lot of places that I have not been to earlier. Like, Sir took us to BKC, the Dadar Flower Market, the Cotton Mill Vara area, uh, Fort, Asiatic Society. So, while walking through the city, I think I realized how diverse communities have been coexisting in this shared space of the city, um, where you see like some of them could be locals who have been living in the city for like generations, for decades, whereas some of them are probably migrants who have just come in recently for maybe employment, education, whatever purpose, and they have been trying to fit in, trying to be a citizen of the city. So yeah, I think that was wonderful seeing that.
Hi, I'm Mehak, and I'm just going to share my experience of how the walking in the city went. And I think it's really great. It's really enriching because I took this course expecting something to learn in like citizenship and migration, but it was much more than that. Like when we went for this, it was more of a very, I would say, fulfilling experience, because it's not just you being able to relate to what is being taught in class, but it's also how you experience these places with your own classmates, and how, you know, every place will have a different memory. Like I remember when we reached different locations, we were at different like bandwidths, and you know, at some points we were having a lot of fun. Some places it was like bas bhook lagi hai, khana hai. But it was really fun. I would say even if you're not from Mumbai or are from Mumbai, it is always different to go with different people, and I'm pretty sure that it's never going to be monotonous. Like I personally like being a tourist in my own city, so it was fun for me. And I think it's good, it's a good exposure, because it will help you relate better to whatever is being taught in class, and maybe not on a larger scale, but I'm pretty sure there are some things that sir will be sharing with you all uh, throughout the walking in the city tour that you take. And that'll be quite helpful. If even if you don't think that it doesn't make sense, it will connect somewhere, and it will help you think more than just whatever you're reading or listening to in class. Like that is for sure. So I would say, if you're going, enjoy, have fun, be safe.
In global market. So it's not that you will go to the other area for shopping, you will come to this. So double loop. So middle class gaining income from global business.
They're selling from the side.
I think this is also like a movement like in Karnataka.